Three, two, one. Today is going to be a tough day for millions of Americans, including myself. But our response has got to be not to throw up our hands in despair, not to give up, but in fact to fight back as effectively and as vigorously as we can. And our job is to keep our eyes on the prize. And the prize is that we will continue fighting for a government that represents all of us and not just the 1%. And we're going to go forward in the fight for economic, social, environmental, and racial justice. That's who we are. That's what we're going to do. We are not giving up.
We are here because we believe in America and its values. We refuse fear and bigotry. For the next hour, you will hear why the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States is so critical and why we must remember our founding principles. And oh, we hold these truths to be self-evident.
Our glorious diversity.
We are here.
Our diversities of faiths and colors and creeds.
We are here.
We are here.
We are here.
That is not a threat to who we are. It makes us who we are.
I'm a 17-year-old transgender high schooler. I am an immigrant.
To the young people here and the young people out there, do not ever let anyone make you feel like you don't matter or like you don't have a place in our American story, because you do.
Take a stand. You have a voice.
And you have a right to be exactly who you are.
We are here.
We are here.
This right isn't just handed to you.
We
are here.
No, this right has to be earned every single day. You cannot take your freedoms for granted.
It's going to be the end of the world, or it's going to be the moment we were all waiting for.
Now, just like generations who've come before you, you have to do your part to preserve and protect those freedoms.
That's what I'm all about.
And that starts right now, when you're young.
We are here.
Hey, America. So President Barack Obama is now a citizen, just like the rest of us. He may have left Washington, but he's made it clear that he will not drop his mic. And neither will we. This is a gathering about our voice and our right to use it.
We are here in a newsroom because we're celebrating democracy, all right? That's who we are. It's what we do. It's what we stand for. Freedom and democracy are not absolutes. They are not guaranteed. They don't exist somewhere outside of us. They exist because of us. It's called We the People. That means it only works if we are vigilant, if we are awake. So I am really proud to be awake, to be woke, and to be one of many voices speaking out for America.
Legacy. What is a legacy? It's planting seeds in a garden you never get to see. I wrote some notes at the beginning of a song someone will sing for me. America, you great unfinished symphony you sent for me. You let me make a difference, a place where even orphan immigrants can leave their fingerprints and rise up. We are here.
We are here in many colors, faiths, cultures, and genders, all with the same dream: to enjoy the constitutional right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We are here, and we ain't going nowhere. Are we ready to use our power? If that means standing up for what we believe in, then yeah, we are here. If that means being courageous and speaking out against injustice of all kinds, then yeah, we are here. If that means taking an act of passion and making our voices heard, then hell yeah, we are here.
Freedom. Freedom is what? Freedom is me, freedom is you, freedom is we, freedom is us. Do we trust the U.S. and where we're going now? That's okay, because we're going to start showing now what the Most High is about, and that's living in you and me, and that's what we talk about when we talk about free.
I'm 28 years old, and I'm a Muslim that believes freedom to worship and practice any faith you choose is a right for everyone. And I always tell people, you know, be proud and practice your faith the way it was meant to be practiced. We're all in this world together. We don't know, you know, what can happen, and, you know, we should always try to make it better for one another. And that would be my advice to everyone is, you know, listen with an open mind. Don't be biased, you know, let them speak, let them practice, and, you know, share your experience and your take on it, and discuss it. That would be my best thing to do. Take care.
My favorite thing about America is that you can choose to be religious or you can choose not to be religious. I'm a half Jew Mormon, and I rejected both of those things. Maybe now I'll become Muslim. The point is, we can all party together.
Give me you're tired, you're poor,
you're huddled masses,
yearning to breathe free.
Free.
Free. Free. The wretched refuse
of your teeming shore.
Send these, the homeless,
tempest tossed. To me. To me.
To me. To me.
I'll lift my lamp beside the golden door.
This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Islands. From the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and for me. We are here.
Right now, your country needs you to be informed, involved, and engaged. Why informed? Because you got to know what's going on. All kinds of fake news, all kinds of crazy information out there. You have to act on the truth. That means you got to be informed. You also got to be involved. You know what? This country is moving along, and people are making policies and rules, and they're taking actions. And if you sit on the sideline and don't get engaged in it, how can you ever expect to change anything? Your involvement is really important. But engagement is the key. Engagement is the key because that means you're not just involved, you are part of the solution.
We are here. We are here for those who lack the economic, social, and political power to ensure that they have access to equality and equity. We are here for those who don't always see themselves on television, who grow up believing that they are not enough. We are here for Black lives, for trans lives, for differently abled lives, for women's lives. We are here for those young people who have often been called at risk because we know you are at promise. We are here for those who are fighting to love themselves every single day. We want you to know that you are not just loved, but you are loved. We are here because we know that love removes the distance that keeps us apart. We are here.
I'm a 17-year-old transgender high schooler. 2 years ago, my high school decided that I was not allowed to use a boys' bathroom there, and I've been fighting it ever since. This March, the case goes to the Supreme Court. I'm doing this so that students after me don't have to go through what I've been through. Transgender voices must be heard. We are here.
You know, people ask me a lot, Trey, how can we as young progressives reach your people? White, working class, rural Americans. What can we do to reach them? How can we get them back? What do we do? Well, y'all, other than lying to them, which evidently works better than a gypsy charm in a Stephen King novel, I really don't know what to tell you. Some of these people, the true believers, they ain't no reaching them. You think some old boy in Eastern Kentucky who blames coal dying on the Mexicans wants to have a measured discussion with you about student loan debt? No. He's going to tell you, well, you ought not went to school anyway. Hell, I could have told you that. And then he'll probably spit somewhere. They're just too different, some of them. They're different people with different wants, beliefs, trucks, guns, opinions on Colin Kaepernick, dreams, aspirations than we have. They ain't going to listen to you. But that's okay, because they ain't the ones you need to be worried about reaching anyway. You need to be worried about reaching their silent neighbors. I'm talking about my people, all the other rural progressives out here in this country who feel like they've lived their whole lives on an island in the Red Sea. They look around them at all the church signs, all the campaign signs, the sign at the diner that has an anti-gun control message on it for some reason. They look around at these signs and they wonder how in God's name their one vote could ever make a difference. You think that person's caucusing? You think they're really involved? No, but they could be. They might. If you show them that you care about what they think, if you demonstrate you know that they exist, stop treating the American rural progressive like a mythological being. If I had a nickel for every time I've been called a unicorn this year, I'd have like $6.35, which really is a lot of nickels when you think about it. Stop writing us all off as backward bigots or deplorables just because of where we're from or how we sound. Realize the resource you have available to you. People that have been out here fighting this fight on the front lines their whole lives just because they dared to disagree. So forget about reaching the drunk uncle at the glorified hate rally who's wearing a suit made out of red, white, and blue jeans. You ain't gonna reach him. Reach us. Start here. Don't forget about us. Don't forget that you have allies in places you might not expect. And I ain't gonna sit here and tell you that we're legion, but we are here.
People tell me that they hope that I do not do something as stupid as get married to another woman one day. And one that might be worst of all, people telling me, I hope that you never bring a child into this world, because if you do, then they will have a stain upon them because of you, because you're gay. That's just a little bit of what you have to deal with every day from people here. And people ask me, my friends that are from out of state, why do you stay? And at one time, I wanted to leave as fast as I could. But then I woke up and I realized the state's not going to change if we run away. If people like me run away, then it'll stay the same. We're not going to progress any as a state. I may not be the change, but I can help with the change. I don't want children like me to have to grow up and go through the terrible comments that they receive from those around them. I'm here, we're here, and we aren't going anywhere.
It's still our country, and we still have the right to fight for the things that we believe in, and we're going to have to do that now every single day. That's okay. You know, a lot of countries have had it a lot worse. That's a struggle ahead of us, and that's what we're going to have to do. I don't really have much more I can say to you here. I could sing you a song. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last streaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight over the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rockets' red glare, the bombs, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave over the land and of the free and the home of the brave. Be brave.
I was born into a prominent white nationalist family. What we would do is go around and listen to people give talks about how white people were becoming minorities in America, and that was a huge problem. And I grew up thinking that that was not only right, but it was basically the future, and that we had this like duty to say it out loud. The only group that didn't get respected and didn't get special treatment was white people. I went around and talked about how like immigration was making it all Spanish and it wasn't like American anymore, and how black neighborhoods were more dangerous. When I went to college a few years later, I ended up changing my mind. I ended up coming pretty close to several people at the college. They never let me get by saying the stuff that I was saying, even though I thought I had evidence behind me. Started out by realizing that not everybody had the same institutional power in America. It grew into thinking that advocating for white people really hurt a lot of people. I did change my mind and denounce what I had advocated, and then this presidential campaign came out. It was like looking around and saying the stuff that your family had advocated, that you spent years coming to grips with, that you denounced, that you thought maybe was done, was not done. It's foundational in America. I never would have said I was racist or white supremacist. Well, there were people who were hurt. Maybe not physically, but their lives were made less because of what I was representing and what I was saying. Maybe speaking out now can help. You know, it's hard if you're a poor white person to understand what systemic racism means or white privilege means. But it's something that we can understand by saying, absolutely, this is not okay. We have to be very loud. And I'm not going to tell you there's one way to do it. All that I will say is I'm here. We all need to be here. We are here.
They say America's the greatest. I'm contemplating all them phases. I'm looking at the new reality of all the changes. People are talking, say it's time to reunite as one. Not as long as the white man got the power strong. I'm sick of all the bullshit. The corruption of government got the richest do shit. Now we drowning in cool shit. I'm looking at the black people dying on the streets. Now time of sitting down, it's time to let Detroit eat. As a first-time voter, this was always different. Making up my mind was harder than it was to listen. The negligence, the absurd ways black people are forced in, makes you want to break through this road that we're getting torched in. America was never the greatest. You gotta get it through your head. Don't let the words I'm telling you only wake you once you're dead. It's time to rise up, time to speak up, let's get it spread. I'm representing all the minorities. I represent them till I'm dead.
I'm a proud transgender woman of color. I'm an immigrant. Now more than ever, with the reality that we have politically, I'm here unapologetically being myself. I would love my trans brothers and sisters now more than ever. I'm here to join together with everybody in our community to stand up and making sure that we center the narrative and the lives of people that are most at risk, which are trans people of color. Trans people has always been here since the beginning of time, and we are not going away. Trans people and gender non-conforming people are not going away. We are here.
When I was a kid, my dad told me that if I was ever lost, that I should stride confidently up to a police officer and say, "I am lost," and they would help me. When I was a teenager, my mother told me that if I was ever pulled over by the police, I had the right to question why they pulled me over in the first place. As a father, I sat in a McDonald's and read the transcript of a tape a woman made while her boyfriend bled out in the car next to her. As the tape played silently on CNN, my daughter asked me, "Is that man shot?" And she said, "The police did it." And when I asked her how she knew, she said, "It happens all the time." I want to raise strong, compassionate young people who strive to face fear in themselves and in others. I worry that I can't. Looking at the camera.
We are here.
A piece of the poem, Brave and Startling Truth, by Maya Angelou. When we come to it, we, this people, on this wayward floating body, created on this earth, of this earth, have the power to fashion for this earth a climate where every man and every woman can live freely without sanctimonious piety, without crippling fear. When we come to it, we must confess that we are the possible. We are the miraculous, the true wonder of this world. That is when, and only when, we come to it. We are here.
I'm going to spend the next 4 years fighting bullies. Now we have national bullies. They want to bully people who are vulnerable in our society, people who feel powerless, and that's most of us. They want to bully in terms of suppressing votes and forming a government that has very little to do with democratic ideals and freedoms and respect for people, a government founded on hatefulness. Well, I'm going to fight that, and I hope you're going to fight it as well. We are here.
I'm also here as an LGBTQ American to say that I'm scared. I'm scared because this incoming administration and our lawmakers have signaled that they'd be willing to pass a law that would allow anyone to refuse service to LGBTQ people based on religious grounds. This is a time for us to come together, to show up, and have each other's backs. So we are here, and we're not going anywhere.
I want to invite you to join the Love Army. You know, a lot of people said that the last election was lost because, one candidate was too multicultural. She was too into pluralism. I say, au contraire. We need to be even more pluralistic to include people in the red states and the blue states who are suffering. There are people in the blue states right now who are afraid because they're Muslim. They're afraid because they're dreamers. They're afraid because they're women. They're afraid because they're black voters or black protesters. They need to be supported and defended and loved up. And there are people in the red states who are afraid because they're seeing their plants close, they're seeing manufacturing jobs leave, they're coal miners seeing their pensions being stolen. We gotta have a circle of love big enough to include them too. If we got the red states and the blue states united, sticking up for the underdogs in both places, then the common pain can lead to common purpose. And common purpose can lead to a common cause. And that cause can be the cause of all of us. Please join the Love Army.
It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred with dust and sweat and blood, who does actually strive to do the deeds, and who, at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly.
Oh, I feel like I'm an 82-year-old curmudgeon. No, I am 28. And I'm the youngest elected official in New York City, and I see myself as the millennial elected official. I am Richie Torres. I am a member of the New York City Council. I represent the Central Bronx. I am a Bronx boy to the core. I always have been and always will be. I grew up in a public housing development. There were many challenges that I had to face growing up in public housing, but I was grateful. But for public housing, I would not be where I am today. I want to focus on causes that have been neglected. You have like a visual tale of two cities. You have this beautiful, brand new, affordable housing development and then a dilapidated public housing. And I want to make sure that every New Yorker has access to the same kind of stable housing that I did. My advice for young people is consider running for public office. We should find out what's the ratio of caretakers to units and whether we are underrepresented or overrepresented. Rather than complain about the failure of political leadership and the cynicism that it breeds, why not become the change I wish to see? And there were people who had low expectations of me because I was a 24-year-old kid. It was presumptuous of me to think that I could be an elected official, but I will gladly suffer their low expectations. I thrive on low expectations. My brother. And so if there's one piece of advice I have to my fellow millennials out there, we need you to rise to the challenge of elected leadership. I'm here. We're here.
If you look globally from apartheid South Africa all the way to the Tiananmen Square, every great social movement has been led and driven by young folks. And so my hope right now is that we all understand, I am here, we are here to fight, to work, to engage, to press forward in the cause for justice.
In this era of fake news, you may think that your duty as a media consumer is to not believe anything. You may want to err on the side of total skepticism. But I'm here to tell you that being a permanent skeptic really just helps the forces of chaos. Being a smart media consumer doesn't mean that you don't trust anyone. It means that you do the hard work of finding out who you can trust. You look into backgrounds of publications. You figure out what their track record is. You don't make that decision based on ideology. In fact, you read and listen and watch all kinds of sources. You pay attention to people you disagree with because they may spot holes in stories that you really want to believe. We all have blind spots. And most importantly, When a journalist or a news organization gets something wrong, let the world know. Let them know. And when a journalist or a news organization does something brave and good, also let the world know. And support them in whatever way you can. The important thing is to let the authoritarians and the propagandists know that we are watching and that we are here.
Here's how the press should cover the Trump administration. Super aggressively. We've got to be the watchdogs, the watchers on the wall. Just because he's the president doesn't mean that you have to respect things that are not factual. It is not your job to defer to him. It is your job to make sure that you watch out for the American people. You're supposed to be the fourth estate, so it is critical what you do here. You must protect and look out for your real audience, and that is not the people in power. That is the American people. You've got to let them know we are here.
I want you to remember that we've overcome a lot, that when we come together, we can improve our own lives, we can stand with each other, and that it's up to us, not any elected official, to help create the nation and the world we want to live in. We are here. Peace and love, y'all.
It's a new year, which means a new administration, and a lot of concerns have been expressed about women's rights as well as the ability to speak openly and express ideas on the internet or through media. And so as someone who's a content creator myself, and I really like speaking out about things that I feel passionately about, I have many of these same concerns. And so this is my video saying we will continue to fight for First Amendment rights. We will not be bullied into submission, and we will speak out against injustices in our community and our world. So if you want to take the pledge, learn more, we are here.
My name is Gregory McKelvey, and I am a 23-year-old law student.
I am one of the organizers from Portland's Resistance.
A lot of people say, what does protesting do? Every single major progress that's happened in America has happened with the assistance of protesting, whether it's civil rights, ending the Vietnam War, even the Revolutionary War. And consistently, it is the counter-protesters that are looked upon in history unfavorably. But protesting, I always say, gives us three things, and that's energy, community, and leverage. Leverage is the most important because then we can push for actual policy changes.
I don't want to be in the streets every night because it sucks. I hate being beat by the cops. I hate being pepper sprayed. I don't want to be there. And the cops don't want us out there, and the politicians don't want us out there. And what that is, that's leverage.
People are convinced that they're powerless, and the way to take back that power is to organize collectively. When you come together as a community, that's where the power is.
We have two options here. Either it's going to be the end of the world, or it's going to be the moment we were all waiting for.
Freedom, freedom come, hold on, won't be long. Freedom, freedom come, hold on, won't be long.
Recently we had the Standing Rock Assembly, which was the perfect combination of freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of press, and freedom of redress of grievances. And what we did was we all came together from all different walks of life to stand behind a belief that there was a wrong being committed by the government, because the pipeline was a government-sanctioned industrial endeavor. And we came together and we said no. And we said no because it put 14 million people's water in jeopardy. And we said no because it was being built illegally without proper consultation with our Native brothers and sisters and without proper environmental impact study. And so we came together against all hope. No one in the world thought for a second that when those kids started Standing Rock, the 12 and 13-year-olds started Standing Rock and that camp, and they said, we are not going to let you poison our water, that anyone thought for a second they had a chance. But the one thing that we have that they cannot take away from us, that they would like to take away one day, is our freedom to assemble. And I'm telling you folks, that is where our power lies.
It's important that we all stand forth and protect all of these resources. Without them, there is no life. For the future generation to survive, you need water.
So I'm out here standing to protect our water, protecting our earth, protecting our land, protecting our future generation.
At this moment in history, a devastation is being done to the Mother Earth.
People have to come back to the cycle of life. That Mother Earth is the source of life, not a resource. All the rivers and the creeks, the streams, all connected like that. And this is the tree of life.
Why are they still trying so hard for oil? We have better ways now. We know we do. But the money's there in the oil. And as long as there's money in it, they're going to pursue it at any cost.
What we're watching right now in action is a militarized police force that is working ostensibly at the behest of a multi-billion-dollar fossil fuel corporation in an era where not only is the scientific community, but really the international community in total agreement that fossil fuels are going to be the death of this planet. What we can learn from the native peoples who've been struggling with this is they have a very strong and unbroken sense of community. And it's not about the self, it's about the tribe and then the larger nation around them. When you work for the greater good and for the larger community around you, that's the best way to serve yourself.
It's that moment when you realize that there's no one that's going to save you, that you are the person that has to wake up and you have to take a stand. You have a voice. You have the power.
The battle is not over. This is a beginning. We got to realize that Standing Rock is everywhere in the whole world.
And we're going to overcome. We're not going anywhere.
These are age-old battles. The torch needs to be passed. And if you feel any type of connection to this, then make it your fight as well. If millennials are not apt to get involved now, what are they waiting for?
My name is Kelsey Skaggs. I'm from Juneau, Alaska, and I'm a climate activist and a lawyer. I started the Climate Defense Project to provide legal support to people who are working for climate justice. Growing up in the Alaskan wilderness, I understood that people are a part of the natural world, not apart from it. What we do to our environment, we ultimately do to ourselves and to each other. It's my responsibility to stand up for my home and to stand with the people affected by climate change. And whether it's filing a lawsuit in court or getting water protectors out of jail at Standing Rock, it's my job to make sure that climate activists have the legal representation that they need. This administration is not going to make it easy. But the good news is that 1 in 8 Americans say that they're willing to engage in nonviolent civil disobedience for climate solutions. We need those people now more than ever. The Climate Defense Project is here, and we're just getting started.
It's things like this that really help bring people together. And I really hope that people are listening and continuing to speak out and using your voice, because we will be heard.
We don't define an American as being exclusive of any color or creed. Believe it or not, I am filled with values and principles, and I want to love everybody that comes to this country, and I want to protect everybody's rights to speak freely and to gather peacefully when they want to protest something. That's what this country's all about. That's what I'm all about, girl.
Tomorrow, women across America march in unity to send a bold message to our new government in its first day in office that we are here. This protest was the vision of amazing women. Here's how they did it.
This is poised to be the largest mass mobilization that any new administration has ever seen. This has never happened in history. So for you to be the president and for you to have this type of massive opposition on your first day, the least that we think we can do is we can send you a strong message that we're watching you.
We've seen protests work. When we were shutting down the streets here in New York City, we had calls from the governor to meet with him, the mayor. So they don't want us to be on the streets.
It allows for someone who's advocating for a piece of legislation or advocating for any particular change, right, to be able to say, look, if you don't do what we're telling you to do, you see those people outside, you see that, you see those 10,000 people, they're gonna be 100,000, and then they're gonna be 500,000 people.
They don't want that message to get too far and wide and then have a lot of other people joining in that are not the usuals. Because they know we're the usuals. They're like, oh, there they go again.
You have to do mass mobilizing. You have to assemble. You can't be mad in your house. You can't be outraged in your house, because your outrage in your house For the people on the outside is silence. Silence is violence against communities. It actually kills people. What do you want people to say about you 60, 70 years from now? Do you want people to say that you were the generation that stood up? You were the generation that protected the most vulnerable, and you were the generation in these United States that did not allow atrocities to happen to people on your watch.
Now, everybody seems to think that getting in the movement means you got to be the speaker, and that's the only way to be the most powerful person. Sometimes the most powerful person in the movement is the one who can come in with a skill that no one else has, and we may never even see you, but you're making it happen.
You don't have to be 40 years old to be a leader. You don't have to be 17 years old. You could be 11. Our young people need to rise to the top.
And for the first time, people are saying we're going to use the power that we always knew we had, but we may not have been actually putting it into practice. And the power of the people, the will of the people, we will succeed.
We are here.
We are here.
We are here.
Well, this is not my first rodeo. I was active in the resistance to the Vietnam War. I've marched in Boston and Washington and been dragged away by my hair. So for me, I think it's time for people in my generation to stand up and stop whining about the millennials, because we're in a lot of trouble now. We have to reach across the generations and act as one.
This is my first time marching. What most concerns me is Planned Parenthood, the environment, and the incoming refugees. I feel like it's time that we band together and use our voices to be heard. And that's why I'm marching tomorrow in Washington.
We're here.
And we're not going anywhere.
We are here to pledge that even when our government disavows, scapegoats, and demonizes its own citizens for nothing more than the bodies they occupy, we will not do the same to each other. We're here to fight for women's rights to make choices about their own damn bodies, for people of color to feel safe in their bodies, and for Americans to place their bodies in any house of worship they choose, or none at all. We are here to remind each other that facts, the truth, still matter, and that kindness, empathy, and civility are not dead. We will be here to support the sick among us when resources inevitably run thin, and those whose income pales in comparison to that of the billionaires about to take office. We are here to resist. We are here.
Whatever you choose, however many roads you travel, I hope that you choose not to be a lady. I hope that you will find some way to break the rules and make a little trouble out there. And I also hope that you will choose to make some of that trouble on behalf of women. Nora Ephron, we are here.
We are here. We have the right to question the government on any of its policies. There are so many issues for us to be vigilant about. Equality, racial justice, control over our bodies, safe gun policies, and of course, the future of the planet. If a 16-year-old can get his warrior on, so can we.
My name is Shutes Katanathiu. I'm a 16-year-old climate activist, and my work began over 10 years ago. I saw myself, as an indigenous person and as a young person that was going to be inheriting the world, that I had a responsibility to do something about this problem, to fight for this so generations in the future will not have to deal with the crisis that I am dealing with today. A lot of people call me the Kid Warrior. It's very kind of symbolic to the work that I do as a kind of a leader in the climate movement. It sounds cool. And yeah, I feel like it's an accessible way for people to know who I am, rather than my name, which is 11 letters long and hard to pronounce. There are a lot of problems in the world today, and to each and every one of those problems, we need bright-minded, intelligent, innovative, creative young people to rise up and take action to create the solutions that we want to see. Every problem is an opportunity for people to build off of that to create the world we want to live in. And as young people, we have an incredible amount of potential and responsibility to use our voice, our passion, to create the change in the world that we want to pass on to future generations. It's a really exciting time to be born. It's a really exciting time to be alive today in the world because of how much opportunity we have to create change and to make a difference in the world. So, yeah, thank you.
Hey friend, I'm State Representative Park Cannon. And I hear you. I hear you saying that this presidential uncertainty has you feeling like no one's listening. I know that me being an out queer person involves every part of your realities. So I'm bold wherever I go. We are here, queer and without fear. I ran for office to protect our rights, to guard against complacency, and to fight for a more progressive future with folks who care. So help us out. We need you to get active, whether that means volunteering, bartering, organizing, resisting, vocalizing, getting active through photography. Do what it takes. Liberate us through language, slang, and dialect, and let everyone know that we are here.
We are here. We are here as people who have different skin colors, faiths, genders, and sexual orientations, and we don't always get along. But we have to learn from each other and take care of each other. God loves us, but not because of the religions we belong to, but because of how much each one of us strives to bring social justice to all of us. We all have a right to clean drinking water, affordable health care. We all have the right to live in communities where our children and families are safe and police are our allies. We don't want wars that only bring hate and anger to the world. Violence brings more violence, but peace brings more peace. We are here to live together. We are here.
It's hard to know what to say to each other in these dark days. Days in which anti-people of color, anti-women, anti-LGBTQ, anti-Muslim, anti-everything that's not a certain way is at the forefront. We must resist, we must fight, we must not allow this to be the norm, because then the darkness wins. And so my goal for myself and for other like-minded people is to come together around the ideals that we hold dear, ideals of justice and dignity, ideals of equality and humanity for all of us. It sounds like highfalutin talk, but these are real stakes, these are real challenges. It's going to be important to be able to answer the question, what side of history did you stand on? I intend to stand on the side of the light. And so we all have to choose. What do you choose? If you choose to stand with us, just know that we are here.
The caged bird sings for freedom to ring. Black bodies being lost in the American dream. Blood of black being, a pastoral scene. Slavery still alive, check Amendment 13. Now whips and chains are subliminal. Instead of nigger, they use the word criminal. Sweet land of liberty, incarcerated country. Shot me with your ray gun and now you wanna trump me. Prison is the business, America's the company. Investing in injustice, fear, and long suffering. We staring in the face of hate again. The same hate they say will make America great again. No consolation prize for the dehumanized. For America to rise, it's a matter of black lives. And we gon' free them so we can free us. America's moment to come to Jesus.
In theory, if you get convicted of a crime, it's pretty simple. You go to jail, you do your time, and then you get your rights back. That includes voting. That includes getting a job, getting a student loan, renting an apartment, living a life. But in the United States right now, it is not that simple. And you have some people, like Chris Wilson, who did his time. He repaid his debt, and now he wants to vote.
My mom was dating a police officer. He sexually assaulted her in front of me and almost beat my mom to death. This police officer and his friends began to stalk my family. One night, these two guys were following me, and, I panicked and I started firing my weapon. I ended up taking a person's life. I couldn't understand that they would sentence me to the rest of my life, and I was so young. I lost hope my first year in prison. Even my own mom said, well, you'll probably never get out of prison, so what's the point? And so they just stopped coming to visit me, my entire family. I would see these old men in prison who've been there 40 years, 30 years. They would speak to me and basically tell me just get comfortable. And that terrified me. And so I just wrote up a plan to turn my life around. I explained to the judge how it felt to see my mom violated by a police officer. I talked about what I would do if given a second chance. And I remember being able to hear my heartbeat. And she said, "You committed a terrible crime, but your accomplishments inside of prison are nothing short of amazing." And she says, "I'm going to give you a second chance under one condition." She says, "You can't get out and just be a regular person and get a job and fly under the radar." The problem of poverty and unemployment was so vast in Baltimore. I wanted to create a business where I can employ as many people as possible in the communities. And so I started a construction contracting company, just investing in the economically aspiring population. So I remember getting out of prison and, I discovered that I wasn't able to vote. It's something about feeling invisible. That's part of a true democracy, is having a voice, and having a voice is being able to vote. And if we can't vote, then our issues won't be heard. And so after a lot of work, we were able to overturn the governor, which allowed 44,000 people to be able to vote in the state of Maryland. Just recently, I was able to vote for the first time in my life, and I was super proud. I was smiling the whole time when I was in line, and people could ask me, "What are you so happy about?" And I was like, "I'm voting." And, I felt like a real citizen finally. I think we got to pay more attention to people that come home from prison, because a person can come home and say, "I want to change, I want to turn my life around," and all they see is obstacles. We need to put people in power that are willing to be bold enough to make some changes. You can turn your life around. Don't ever let anyone tell you that you can't do it. My work is definitely unfinished. There's so much to do. I'm definitely making up for lost time, for sure. We are here.
We are here to hold the people that we elect to represent us accountable. We're here for justice, for love, for everyone. We are here.
Dylan was struggling with autism as a student at Sandy Hook Elementary School. But he was a special, special boy who is going to turn into a special, special young man. He idolized his brother Jake, but he idolized someone else as well. He idolized a woman named Anne Marie Murphy. Anne Marie Murphy was his special education teacher and his personal aide. And over the course of the beginning of his first grade year, they formed a bond, a deep, deep bond that is often hard to form for kids with autism like Dylan. Their bond was so tight that he had a picture of her on the refrigerator along with his class. And every day when he'd walk by the refrigerator, he would point to the picture and say, "There's my class, and there's Mrs. Murphy." It meant something to him to have that relationship. And he loved going to school in large part because he knew he had someone there who loved him back. As Senator Booker has talked about the expectations that we should have for each other, that expectation of deep, passionate love for each other, Dylan and Anne Marie Murphy had it. Senator Blumenthal and I got to Sandy Hook Elementary School after most of the families had come to realize that their loved ones weren't coming back, that their little boys and girls were probably lying on the floor of those classrooms. And we still saw and heard things that I think we both wish we didn't hear and see. But when Nicole Hockley was standing in or outside the firehouse, when she came to the slow, awful, crippling realization that her little boy was not coming back, she had a moment where she thought to herself, maybe Anne Marie will come back and she'll tell me what happened to my little boy. And then she had a second thought, that Anne Marie probably wouldn't leave Dylan if he was in danger. When Adam Lanza walked into that classroom and aimed his military-style assault weapon with clips attached to it holding 30 bullets, Anne Marie Murphy probably had a chance to run or to hide or to panic And instead, Anne Marie Murphy made the most courageous decision that any of us could imagine. Instead of running, instead of hiding, instead of panicking, Anne Marie Murphy found Dylan Hockley and embraced him. You know why we know that? Because when the police entered the classroom, that's how they found Dylan Hockley, dead, wrapped in the embrace of Anne Marie Murphy. It doesn't take courage to stand here on the floor of the United States Senate for 2 hours or 6 hours or 14 hours. It doesn't take courage to stand up to the gun lobby when 90% of your constituents want change to happen. It takes courage to look into the eye of a shooter and instead of running, wrapping your arms around a 6-year-old boy and accepting death as a trade for just a tiny little itty piece of increased peace of mind for a little boy under your charge. And so this has been a day of questions. And so I ask you all this question. If Anne Marie Murphy could do that, then ask yourself, what can you do to make sure that Orlando or Sandy Hook never, ever happens again?
Hi, my name is Nicole Hockley, and I'm a mother to 2 sons, Jake, who survived the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School, and Dylan, who was killed in his 1st grade classroom. Since losing my son in a senseless and preventable act of gun violence, it's become my lifelong commitment to honor him by preventing other families from experiencing this loss, by teaching people how to know the signs of someone that is at risk of hurting themselves or someone else, and intervening to get them the help that they need. It's not hard to learn how to help others and how to speak up for them. It doesn't take courage to do what's right. And it's not about politics. My son Dylan wasn't a Democrat, and he wasn't a Republican. He was 6. He cared about learning to read and playing with his brother. He had a right to life, but that right was taken from him. You have a right to speak up and have your voice be heard. It's more than your right, it's your responsibility. So get involved. Use your voice and help your little brother, your sister, your cousin, help your family and your community, help yourselves. I was compelled to be my son's voice because he no longer has his own. But you don't need to lose someone in order to find your strength and your ability to stand up for what you believe in, to lead the change that you want to see in the world. You have your whole life in front of you. You have the power to make that life and this country be as you want it to be. So I am here. I'm here to protect the future for my surviving son. I'm here to deliver a positive legacy for my dead son. I'm here to prevent tragedies in other families and communities. And I'm here for you. And I hope you can be here with me.
We're a couple of the congressional staffers who wrote the Indivisible Guide. It's an open source guide for making members of Congress listen, and we wrote the guide because we saw that the big powerful interests knew exactly how to make members of Congress listen to them. We wanted to put together the insider knowledge to make sure you could make members of Congress listen to you. The great thing about the guide is it's really not rocket science. It's just about getting your friends together and showing up at your member of Congress's local district offices or their local public events. That's about it. If you treat an attack on one like an attack on all, you can have a huge impact on what your member of Congress really does. And at the end of the day, it's hanging out with some of your friends and saving American democracy at the same time.
When we were working in Congress, we saw these tactics actually work because they were used against us.
It sucked.
You have 2 senators and 1 representative, and they each work for you. Whether you like them or not, they work for you, but you have to make them listen. No one is saying this next chapter is going to be easy. It could be the hardest thing we've ever done, but we each have to step up. We each have to make sure that America reflects our democratic values like freedom, equality, and justice. To do this, we've got to get to work, we've got to stick together, and we have to start today. We are indivisible.
And we are here.
We all have the ability to make a difference, to be here for one another. We are here.
The safety that was built, enshrined into our Constitution, was the freedom to assemble. The freedom of religion, the freedom of speech, and the freedom of the press. And when anyone starts to talk about taking any of those things away, as they are, and they have, and they will, then we have to fight. This is where our power is, and this is where our hope is, this is where our strength is, and this is the means by which we are going to keep the worst of what's coming towards us at bay. We are going to stand together today, and we're going to do it by coming together with freedom of speech and freedom of assembly. There is no such thing as freedom of speech zones, okay? Our First Amendment tells us that we can assemble anywhere we want as long as it's peaceful, anytime we want, and that's what we have to protect. We are here. Don't be afraid. You're not alone. There's a lot of us out there, and the way that we get what we need is by getting together. Peace.
If war is holy and sex is obscene, then we've got it twisted in this lucid dream. Baptized in boundaries, schooled in sin, divided by difference, sexuality, and skin. So we can hate each other and fear each other. We can build these walls between each other. Blow by blow and brick by brick, keep yourself locked in. Or maybe we could love somebody. What if sex was holy and war was obscene and it wasn't twisted? What a beautiful dream. Living for love, unafraid of the end. Forgiveness is the only real revenge. Yeah, so we can feel each other and heal each other. We can break these walls between each other, baby, blow by blow and brick by brick. Keep yourself open, you're open. So maybe we should love somebody. Oh, maybe we could care a little more. So maybe we should love somebody instead of polishing the bombs of holy war. What if love was holy and hate was obscene? We should give life to this beautiful dream. 'Cause peace and love ain't so far if we nurse our wounds before they scar. Nurse our wounds before they scar.